Hello and welcome. We are talking more about absolute positioning today, so let's jump right into it. We want to talk specifically about the top, left, bottom, and right properties, and these are extremely useful because sometimes you just want an element to go someplace on the page. We've done at least one challenge before about absolute positioning, and this is just more sort of the nitty-gritty. This is more just how exactly do you get things to show up where you want. So let's go through this challenge. Use absolute positioning together with top, left, bottom, right to position the labels as described. All right, let's see what we got here. So we have this one, top right inside. See it down there in the test, but I'm gonna minimize that a bit. Let's see, what do we got? Top right inside, we got the class pre-filled there. And all right, we have, let's see, top right outside, bottom left, stretch center, and top right inside. Okay, so there it is down there. See the DOM element, and you'll see that it has two classes. It has the label class and the top right inside class. So let's just start with that one. All right, we should be in the upper right corner of the screen. So the upper right is over there where you see the mouse. Let's draw a little bit. So like over in that area. That's generally the upper right of the screen. So we want this element to go over there. So just thinking about this intuitively, it's at the top and it's on the right. So we've got top of the screen here, right over there. So thinking about this intuitively, you might guess correctly that we want to use the top property and the right property. So let's go in there and do that. We have top right inside, and whenever you're using these properties, like let's just make sure that it's working. Let's see, background red. Okay, so that's what we're styling. Lime, something a little more vibrant. And we want to say, let's say top. I like to just throw in some values like 100 pixels. And you'll notice the reason I like to just throw in some values sometimes, you can see if your values are working. CSS loves to try to trick you into thinking that you're gonna write some styles that are gonna work, and then they're just not gonna work. And the reason is what we've talked about before, which is that this right here, it doesn't have any positioning on it. It has the default positioning, which is static. So this has changed nothing. I've just made it explicit. And what we want, though, is we want position absolute. But let's just make it relative real quick to show you. So now this is sort of a recap. We've got the top right inside moving relative to itself. It's moving 100 pixels away from the top relative to itself. It's its own original position, which we can, let's do that. It's over there. So yeah, I'm writing on an upright tablet, which is why I'm just so bad at drawing squares. And you'll see that it's moved 100 pixels away from there. Okay, let's get rid of that. But so we want absolute though. We want it to be positioned with regard to, let's look at we have top right inside here, and we want it in the upper right hand corner of the screen. So let's do it. Where are we? Position relative, top 100 pixels. So let's just say top 0. And can do absolute. Oops. So now you see it does jump to the top. Great, we're really close, we're almost there. See right, 0. And there you go. Now you'll see that we have a test passing. If we scroll down, you'll see that. We got one of them. And we've got the lime colored div is up there in the upper right-hand corner. So what we did there is, and when you're using 0, you actually don't need pixels. You can go either way. That's why it works. So we'll just say top 0, right 0, and now that's in the upper right-hand corner. Let's keep on going. Top right outside. So let's see what top right outside should be dangling off the upper right of outer. So let's see, what's outer here? Outer, I'm guessing it's this salmony colored thing. What color did I use there? Yeah. Okay, so outer is the larger box. And we want off the upper right of outer. So that would be over in like this area. That's what I meant by dangling off the upper right. It's going to be sticking out off the upper right. It's not going to be inside. It's going to be outside that box. So let's do that. Let's do that. All right, should be off the upper right. So similar to what we just did, let's go ahead and come down here. We want more position absolute, and we want top 0 again. So let's give this one a background of what's another. Well, pink should be visible. Oh, that's not very visible. Let's say blue, sky blue. That looks, no, blue, make it really visible. So there it is, we moved it, and again, to make it clear, we can say, so it was here, and now it's there. I like to just, in the videos, I like to go through these things one step at a time, and sort of explain what's going on. So now, when we give it position absolute, it's no longer where it was. You see, we have this bottom left inside. That's actually going to move up when I say position absolute, because there's nothing above it as far as the browser is concerned. We're positioning this top right outside element outside the normal context of elements. Outside document flow is what that's called in HTML. And that means that everything else is just going to pop up. It's going to be as if there was nothing there above those other elements. And so you can't see it because it's on top. We can say, let's say left. You'll see that if we change these values, moving over, it's on top of this other thing. And so the other element is still there behind it. But anyways, that's not what we want. We want to say left 100%. Whoa, look at that. Now, so what happened here? We're using not pixel values, but percent values. And whenever you have percent, the obvious question is, well, percentage of what? Left is 100% of what in this case? And when you're using left and absolute together, left, what it means in percentage terms is percentage of the parent. So left and right both have to do with width. It's the x-axis. So left 100% is say move away from the left 100% of the parent element. And what that gives us is this sort of perfect alignment where it goes right outside, just right outside the other element and no more. So we can say, you'll see if you can expect what 0 would do. It would be nothing. And 10 and 20, and so it's just moving over more and more. And you'll see that this, visually you can kind of see that if you say 50%, it's over exactly half of the parent element. But let's keep on going. Let's just keep on moving. So we've got that one, another one down. Let's keep on going. Bottom left inside. So where do we want this? It should be in the lower left of outer. So we know outer is this salmon colored div. And we want to go to the lower left. So let's draw that out real quick. That's the lower left corner, left side, lower. And again, usually these are pretty intuitively, you'll know what properties you need to use, even if you don't know exactly what you have to write. And in this case, we're going to need left and we're going to need bottom. I'm going to do a real quick cleanup here. We have all of these have the label class, as you've seen, and they're all going to need absolute positioning. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, delete it there. I'm going to copy it from there. You'll see the whole layout jumps back into place, and I'm going to paste it in there. So now they all have absolute positioning without us having to say absolute positioning for individual ones. All right, keeping it moving. bottom left inside. So let's say background yellow. No, yes. All right, and you can see that it's hiding off there, off to the side there, and that's why if you don't have that color, it looks kind of weird. You know, like what is IDE over there at the end? And it's actually because we have two divs and one of them is on top of the other. All right, so we've got background yellow, and we want to say left 0. It's already left 0, and bottom 0, and that's new. Another test passing. There we go. Keep on moving. Stretch center. Be stretched to the width of outer and move down 50%. So let's start with the down 50%. To move something down, we want to move away from the top, which is going to use the top property. And we saw this a second ago. So we can move down 50%. And that's what we just did. We'll comment that out, bring it back. So this moves down the page 50%. And it might not look it, but this is 50%. Let's turn my pencil around, facing the wrong way. So right there, that is 50% of the outer div, which is this one. Going down, 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 50%. 50%. And it may not totally look like it because we have some other stuff going on here, but visually that is 50%. And the other thing to call out here is that it moves the top edge of whatever you're styling down 50%. So if you wanted this to visually look like it was in the center, let's clear that out, then you'd have to do a bit more styling to move it up a bit so that its center, the center of this was at the 50% line. But what we have right now is the top. The top of this element is at the 50% line. So we're halfway there. And the other thing now we want stretch. So stretching can be accomplished in sort of an interesting way here. It might not be intuitive. You could say with 100%, and that would work. But what actually ends up being more flexible, and what I want to go over here is that you can style both left 0. Let's take that away for a second, actually. Right 0. So now move to the right. But what if we say left and right? Well, actually it just stretches it out. It says, hey, now your width is going to be the full width because your left and your right are, because you want to be, both your left and your right should be touching the edges, so it just stretches. And the reason this can be more powerful is because you can use pixel values here to say, maybe you want it to be, let's say 10, 10 there, and 10 there. So now it's as if the div has padding, but you don't always want to have padding. So maybe you don't want to add padding to the outer div, but you do want it to sort of appear as if there's padding. And you can just style this specifically with some 10 pixels on left and right. You can also, of course, do things like, maybe it's just part of your aesthetic style in your site that that's too much. You have things that sort of touch one edge but don't touch the other. It's very flexible what you can do with left and right. And that works for top and bottom too. We can say 0, 0, bottom 0, and look at that. We are taking over the entire div, but let's not do that. We don't want that. 50%. Okay. All right. So there you have it. And that's the positioning challenge. And I know that there's quite a lot there. So if you are still confused or you feel like this wasn't in depth enough, feel free to, there's the feedback button. There's a feedback button. Let us know that this was too hard or too easy if you think it should be changed. But this is very important stuff. So it's very important to us that we shove this information into your brain because you'll be able to style anything once you know all the basics. All right, see you next time.